This anime begins with a male junior high school student named Kousuke Ueki in the park. Not long after, a group of thugs said that they had a grudge against Ueki, which made them wanted by the police. They attacked him until a fight broke out. He could easily knock them out with just his broomstick. Shortly afterward, come the fourth thug, who instantly breaks his broom, but Ueki quickly turns the broom into a tree to attack him. Unexpectedly, the incident was seen by his female classmate, Mori, where she thought Ueki was an alien. But their male homeroom teacher, named Kobayashi or Mr. K, came to tell if he was the one who had given Ueki that power earlier. During the confusion, Kobayashi invites Mori to go to his office to tell her that he is one of the 100 candidates for the Heavenly King. So, the candidates had to choose a junior high school student to be given the power to become a fighter for the Heavenly King candidate. And these fighters will fight each other with other fighters. If the fighter wins, then the candidate will automatically be promoted to a Heavenly King. Kobayashi shared that he chose Ueki as his fighter 6 months ago, showing Ueki immense strength he could get. He practiced it in front of Ueki by destroying a tree. But Ueki instead asked him for the power to restore the tree back to how it was. From then on, Ueki chose the power to turn trash into trees. However, according to Kobayashi, that power was so weak, more like a bonus ability. Kobayashi tells Mori that if the fighters use their power to attack ordinary humans, they will lose one of the talents in their life. Like Ueki, who attacked the thugs earlier, he lost his talent for being liked by women. If fighters continuously use their powers on ordinary humans and lose all their talents, then the fighters themselves will disappear. After that, Kobayashi chatted with the male Heavenly King candidate, Inumaru or Wonko. The two of them talked about the prizes for the fighters, which would be king if the candidates managed to win. Meanwhile, the fighters will be rewarded with empty talent, which means they can decide for themselves what talent they want. It is very dangerous if it falls into the hands of an evil fighter. The next day, Kobayashi returns to meet Mori so she can warn Ueki that the battle between power users is about to start. She decides to help Ueki and take care of him so that he doesn't lose his talent again. In the air, the candidates were gathering on a flying bus to listen to the battle rules of the current Heavenly King. The king told them he would hold the first round to select the 25 strongest fighters from 100 participants. As for the fighters who lose, then they will lose their power. On the other hand, Ueki and Mori meet a male fighter Maruo, who has the power to turn water into fire through his mouth. Mori led Ueki to run to the gym, and Maruo continued to follow them. Arriving at the gym, Maruo attacks again. Seeing that, Mori protects Ueki. She knows Maruo will not attack her, an ordinary human. However, he continues to attack Ueki, making him fall. When Maruo's water ran out, someone sent him a full water refrigerator so he could attack Ueki again. It turned out that the person who sent the water was one of the male Heavenly King candidates who had cheated on helping his fighter. When Maruo is about to attack Ueki, a male fighter named Sano Seiichirou appears and protects him. The candidate then took Sano's towel because she knew the towel could turn into iron. Ueki fell limp because he received too many attacks from Maruo, while Sano chose to protect Ueki using his body. When Maruo prepares to attack Sano, Ueki is lucky to still be able to pull out a large tree so that it hits Maruo's body heavily. After that, the candidate who cheated was punished and thrown into the underworld. Sano revealed his reasons for helping Ueki. He didn't want any bad guy to win over that empty talent. The next day at school, a male student named Adachi, who is a fighter, being scolded by his senior from the marathon club. His senior said he didn't deserve to be at their club because he didn't have the talent to run. Hearing his senior's words, Adachi was determined to win the empty talent so that he could run and win the marathon. The next day, Ueki and Adachi's school marathon club will practice together. Ueki has been known as a record breaker for running the 1,000 meters for junior high school students. While training, Adachi tries to get behind Ueki, giving the wrong route to an old temple so he can attack Ueki. After the two arrived at the shrine, Adachi attacked Ueki, causing a fight. At first, Ueki was cornered. Fortunately, he was able to turn things around and defeat Adachi. Knowing Adachi was cheating, his seniors came to the temple. He removed Adachi from the marathon members. Seeing Adachi cry, Ueki couldn't bear it. Then, he attacked Adachi's senior, who was just an ordinary human until Ueki's running talent disappeared. After that incident, he continued to practice running while relying only on effort. Seeing Ueki made Adachi motivated to keep practicing without expecting the power of talent. Not long after, Sano passed the field where Ueki was practicing. He wanted to say goodbye to Ueki because their family was moving to Osaka. After Sano left, a big male fighter came. He said he wanted to get an empty talent for stealing to become the world's greatest thief. Hearing the man's statement, Ueki beat him with a tree. In heaven, the Heavenly King received a report from his male assistant that the remaining fighters were 81 people. The king was asked to oversee the 5 strongest candidates, namely Ueki, Sano, Marilyn, Robert, and Liho. Hearing that, Mori looks increasingly worried about Ueki's condition because his talent is only 8. Arriving at class, she thinks about how to make Ueki not lose his talent again. Then there was an announcement from their classmates, who told them that Kobayashi was sick and couldn't teach today. She volunteered to visit Kobayashi with Ueki. Arriving at Kobayashi's house, Mori beat him and tied his body. She forces Kobayashi to reveal all of Ueki's talents. Soon afterward, she opened his computer and found a folder called The Law of Ueki, which contained all of Ueki's talents, including his lost talents. Strangely, the folder says that Ueki got 3 new talents. Kobayashi explains that fighters will get new talents if they beat other fighters. She thinks to get Ueki a new talent, he must always beat other fighters. Soon there was an earthquake. It turned out that Liho managed to find Ueki's whereabouts. Liho invited him to go to an empty place to fight. He preceded the fight by shooting dozens of spiky tree trunks, but Liho was able to destroy them with his bare hands. Liho explained that he relies more on physical strength from practicing rather than using his talent. Liho attacked Ueki. Fortunately, he made a rubber tree to ward off Liho's attack. Simultaneously, an old man named Ganji, a candidate for Liho, came. He praised Ueki for being able to survive Liho's attack. Ganji admitted that he had never seen Liho use his power. This was because Liho's adoptive father, who was famous as a martial arts expert, died from a deadly virus. It turned out that he really admired his father's talent and wanted to have the same talent as him. But many people think he will not be able to match his father because he is not his biological son. Since then, Liho has wanted to prove to everyone that their assumption is wrong, and he can become a great martial artist. Back in the fight, even though Liho had the upper hand, Ueki kept trying to attack him using his tree power. He managed to throw Liho's body so that his body was hit by a large rock. Seeing Ueki's great ability, Liho was even more serious about fighting him. He uses his butting ability, which can make rocks shatter using his head. Luckily, Ueki managed to stop him by holding both his shoulders simultaneously. After that, Liho admitted defeat and left him. Unbeknownst to them, it turned out that Kobayashi and Wanko were watching the two of them fight from the top of the building. Kobayashi praised the prowess of Liho, who is very strong, but Wanko said that currently, he only occupies the second position as the strongest fighter, while the first position is occupied by Robert. The next day, Ueki went out of town with Mori by train. Not long after, a man named BJ sat across from them, listening to hip-hop music. Ueki danced hip-hop in front of BJ and got a thumbs up for his good moves. They became close and danced together until they got off the train. Arriving at the city center, they separated because they had different goals. At the same time, Mori's glasses fell off, then she looked for them and separated from Ueki. Soon after, she accidentally saw BJ challenging another male fighter. Then, BJ used a sly way, claiming that he was Robert Haydn. That male fighter was scared and ran away from him. But before he could leave, BJ attacked and defeated him easily. Not long after, Ueki came to meet Mori. Suddenly, he fell and accidentally turned a cigarette into a long tree, which leads to where BJ is. Knowing Ueki is a fighter, BJ, who has the power to turn coins into the wind, invites him to fight. He claims to be Robert Haydn to Ueki, but it doesn't affect Ueki, who doesn't know Robert. Afterward, Ueki went back to dancing hip-hop, and without realizing it, he could dodge BJ's attack with that dance. After knowing that BJ had attacked him earlier, Ueki created 5 giant trees that fell from the sky to scare him. After that, Ueki left because he had to accompany Mori to her brother's house. After Ueki left, BJ was approached by a man who turned out to be Robert. He can easily beat BJ. As it turned out, Kobayashi followed Ueki wherever he went. That's why he could see Robert's strength when fighting BJ. The next day, Kobayashi goes to Ueki to tell him what he saw yesterday. He asks Ueki not to fight Robert, who has the strongest power. He informs that BJ was seriously injured after fighting Robert. Hearing that, Ueki even felt angry. Coincidentally, Robert sent a letter to Ueki asking him to fight. He accepted Robert's challenge and went to the place they had agreed on. Arriving there, Ueki, filled with anger, tries to attack Robert. Suddenly the tree he made became heavy because Robert made a pink bubble at the end of the tree. Then, he takes out another tree, and Robert makes another bubble. This time, it is blue, which makes the tree light. Robert arrogantly said he would beat Ueki the same way as BJ. He made a tree wrapped around Robert's hands and feet, but apparently, Robert was able to make bubbles from his mouth to release the coils. He makes a blue bubble to fly Ueki very high, then he bursts it so that Ueki falls from above. Kobayashi then comes to his aid at the risk of being punished in the underground world. Before Kobayashi left, he reminisced about the first time he met Ueki and told him about it. But according to Ueki, that was not the beginning of the meeting because they had met a year before. While playing on the top of the building, he slipped and fell. Kobayashi came to help him. Since then, he has wanted to be like Kobayashi, who can always help others. Not long after, Kobayashi entered the underworld. Robert feels very happy and plans to kill Ueki. However, suddenly, Kobayashi appears again and takes Robert to the underworld. The next day, word got out at school that Kobayashi had moved to teach at another school. Ueki felt very sad to hear this, but he was curious as to why Kobayashi risked himself for his sake. After school, Ueki visits Kobayashi's house to find out through his computer. After opening the folder, it turned out that it contained all the good that Ueki had ever done. Kobayashi was worried because many bad people were after him. He hoped that the good people would be the winners. From then on, Ueki was determined to become the champion and win the empty talent. The scene switches to Ueki meeting a man named Yo-chan, who claims to be a new candidate for Ueki. But strangely, he doesn't want to be involved in a fight and doesn't want Ueki to fight either. He tries to discourage Ueki by saying that the current participants have 160 talents, while Ueki only has 11. Besides, Ueki's talents were useless to help him become a champion. At the same time, Ueki again lost 3 of his talents because he attacked 3 thugs who were disturbing a woman. Mori asked why he really wanted to make Ueki resign. Yo-chan replied that Robert Haydn had become the strongest fighter who would win the empty talent. She was shocked after he told her about that because it meant Robert was still alive. Hearing that, Ueki was even more excited to beat him. It turns out that Yo-chan is the messenger of a man named Margaret, who is a candidate for Robert Haydn. He wants Ueki out of the fight. He has prepared Robert with 10 loyal fighters who will always help him. On the other hand, Ueki continued to fight and managed to defeat several opponents. Even one of his male opponents, Oniyama, finally became friends with him. Oniyama wants to train him to defeat one of the 10 of Robert's fighters named Kurokage, who is dubbed a Black Shadow and will be Ueki's next opponent. Not long after, BJ returned to visit Ueki. He warns Ueki that soon, Kurokage will come and become his opponent. Even he offers to stay at Ueki's house so he can help him. When Ueki, Mori, and BJ were looking for Kurokage's whereabouts, they suddenly saw a fallen little boy looking for his older brother. They then gave the child a drink. Not long after, a giant shadow appeared, which turned out to be Kurokage's shadow. Ueki tried to attack the shadow controller as Oniyama had taught him. When Ueki was about to hit him, it turned out that the figure was just a trick because he could make 1,000 shadows. Unknowingly, the black shadow was about to step on Ueki's body, but swiftly, he wrapped the shadow into pieces. Since the figure was only a shadow, his body managed to rejoin. After being hit by the giant black shadow, Ueki fell unconscious. BJ, who saw it, took his body to a safer place, and fortunately, Ueki woke up. Soon after, the little boy said that Kurokage was his big brother. Sadly, his personality had changed. In the past, Kurokage participated in the basketball championship to win the national level. They managed to win until just before the national level competition. However, the opposing team didn't accept it, so they beat up the Kurokage team, causing a fight. Unfortunately, the Kurokage team was even disqualified, and worse, the opposing team that replaced them competed at the national level. Since then, the Kurokage team has begun to change. From a distance, Yo-chan and a little boy named Rosso, one of Robert's 10 fighters, watching their fight. Ueki tried to get up and fight Kurokage again. Sadly, he was outnumbered because the shadows of Kurokage's body ganged up on him and ended with the stampede of the black giant's shadow. It turned out that Ueki could still release his strength and create a giant tree that penetrated and destroyed the giant black shadow's body. Kurokage reappears with his shadow clone to attack him. Luckily, the clouds covered the sunlight at that time, so all the clones disappeared, and Ueki could see the position of Kurokage's real body. However, Ueki said he didn't want to attack a man whose strength was disappearing. Seeing Ueki's kindness, Kurokage came to his senses and intended to have a fair fight one-on-one. Before they fight, Rosso comes and beats Kurokage. According to him, Kurokage has violated the rules of Robert's 10 fighters, which should be able to use any means to win. Hearing that, Ueki attacks Rosso, who can turn shadows into robots. On the other hand, the boy remembers Rosso's face. He says that Rosso was the one who took Kurokage away and changed his personality into what he is now. The boy grabbed Rosso's hand so that his attack stopped temporarily. Then, Ueki attacks Rosso, but he wakes up and makes a robot to protect him. Ueki, already consumed by anger, made the tree even bigger, so the robot was destroyed and hit Rosso's body until he was unconscious. As a result, Ueki won the match and made Kurokage come back to his senses. 1 week later, the boy sent a photo depicting that Kurokage had returned to the way they used to be and started playing basketball again. But Ueki's calm didn't last long because a boy named Myojintaro appeared again, a member of Robert's 10 fighters. However, his presence was not to fight but to invite Ueki to become a member of Robert's 10 fighters. Because Ueki had defeated Kurokage, he had to replace his position. Hearing that, Ueki agreed and made Mori angry and left him. After that, he chases her and claims that it is just his tactic to find out the location of their base so he can fight them all. Then, the scene switches to Ueki, who gets ready to go to Robert 10's headquarters. Mori reminds him to be nice and pretends to be their friend first. Arriving at the headquarters of Robert's 10 fighters, Ueki was underestimated by the other members because he only had 11 talents. Even one of them kicked him out. Seeing that, Myojin calmed his friends. Then a man named Ogre detects that there is an intruder. Soon, the male intruder named Kagura appeared before them, but the ogre easily defeated him. When they entered the house, Robert soon arrived, but Ueki refuses to bow like the other members. Seeing that, he wanted to punish Ueki by giving an acceptance test for him. Robert told Ueki to carry a large iron box for 3 days and 3 nights without eating and drinking and being monitored by members of Robert's 10 fighters. Surprisingly, he managed to pass the test and was officially accepted by Robert. In the underground world, Kobayashi is seen being a prisoner there. Then there was a man named Pagu who wanted to meet him. Pagu admits that he is Ueki's father and explains that Ueki is a resident of heaven, just like Kobayashi. He explained that Robert and his father were residents of heaven, including Margaret. Pagu said, 12 years ago, when 100 candidates were about to be selected, he and Margaret had a sneaky way to win. They send their son to the human world, who will be a fighter for both of them, because according to them, heavenly beings are stronger than ordinary humans. And when they both grow up, Pagu and Margaret will be candidates for their son. But in reality, only Margaret was chosen as a candidate, while he failed. Therefore, Pagu wanted to expose Margaret's cunning, but he was worried that he would be blamed because Margaret was very cunning. He hopes Ueki can defeat Robert so he can rule the world. Pagu's words were proven true because Ueki was only an adopted child found by his human family when he was still a baby. At Robert 10's headquarters, the members are having a meeting so that they can defeat the other fighters so that he is the only fighter left. Then Ueki asked why the strong Robert didn't do it himself. Myojin explains that Robert shouldn't fight much because he will lose a year of his life every time he uses his strength. After that, Ueki went on a mission with Alessio, but he didn't join the fight and just watched. Soon after, he confessed to Alessio that he was only pretending to join Robert's 10 fighters. As a result, the two of them fought. But not long after, their fight was stopped because a huge monster suddenly appeared in front of them. When Alessio was about to attack him, Ueki blocked him. He couldn't bear it because the monster was like a big chicken to him that had to be protected. The monster catches Ueki and says he was sent by a prisoner of heaven. The monster can measure the abilities of other heavenly beings, and said that Ueki's heavenly ability was 0 because Ueki had been in the human world for too long. The monster says that he had been imprisoned in the underworld for tens of thousands of years because he had eaten the inhabitants of heaven. Right now, Kobayashi tricked him into going to the human world to eat Ueki, a very powerful celestial being, but it turned out Ueki was very weak. Because the monster had already come to the human world, it swallowed him anyway. Not long after, Ueki managed to make a tree and propped up the monster's mouth. He was not sure that Kobayashi had told the monster to eat him. It turned out that Kobayashi did that on purpose so that Ueki would know who he really was so that he could release his hidden power. After Ueki found out who he was, he managed to create a holy weapon to defeat Alessio. The monster detects that Ueki's strength has risen to 1 star. The monster tried to eat him again, but Ueki instead asked him about the holy weapon. The monster explained that sacred weapons are weapons of celestial beings that are created based on the creature's level. That is, the stronger the inhabitants of heaven, the stronger the sacred weapons they can create. Ueki managed to escape from the monster's grip. He instead asked the monster for help to train himself to defeat Robert's 10 fighters. The monster said that in the past, he was a pet of the inhabitants of heaven and could be used as a measure of their strength. But the monster can grow so big that it scares the people of heaven, while the other monsters' bodies remain small. One day, the monster wanted to help a child who had fallen, but the monster was mistaken for wanting to hurt the child. Finally, the monster was punished in the underworld with a slander that he had eaten millions of inhabitants of heaven. The monster felt very vengeful with the creatures of heaven. The monster attacked Ueki because it was burning with a vengeance. But Ueki was able to rise to a 2-star rank and succeeded in creating a sacred weapon called Hood. Seeing Ueki's sincerity and wanting to become stronger made the monster realize and finally want to help him. As a result, the monster was turned into a strength measuring bracelet named Tenko. At Robert's house, there is Margaret, who already knows that Ueki pretended to join forces to destroy them. They knew he had defeated Alessio, the weakest member of Robert's 10 fighters. With confidence, Robert said that even with Ueki's current ability, he would not be able to beat the remaining Robert's 10 fighters. Even so, Robert pretended to welcome Ueki's arrival as usual. Tenko detects that Robert's strength is currently at rank 10, which is quite rare for celestial beings. Robert makes Ueki angry by saying that Ueki is his loyal subordinate. After that, Robert confessed to all the members that he had defeated Alessio. Hearing that, the man named Don took Ueki to an empty place. It is known that Don has 320 talents, all of which are related to physical strength. He could make Ueki bounce, even when Ueki had taken out the hood as a shield. After that, Don left, thinking Ueki had lost. Meanwhile, Ueki himself was annoyed that Don could still defeat him even though his strength had increased. Afterward, he chased after Don, but Tenko suddenly swallowed his body. It turns out that in Tenko's body, there is a power room often used by his race to raise the level of their prey. So, before Tenko became a pet, they really liked to eat powerful heavenly creatures in wartime. If the prey is not strong enough, he will lock it in the generator room, so the prey trains to be strong. He wanted Ueki to practice in that room too. Ueki was given a special test to reach rank 3. Finally, within 22 hours, Ueki managed to master rank 3 and was able to create a holy weapon called Ranma. After succeeding, Tenko told Ueki to come out, but he wanted to stay inside Tenko's stomach to reach rank 4 strength. After a while, Ueki managed to reach rank 4 and challenged Don again. The two met at the place yesterday, where Don demonstrated the ability to turn rings into rockets. Confidently, he said he would only use 50% of his strength against Ueki. But Ueki, who had grown stronger, could dodge Don's attack. Don was so angry that he used his full strength to get his body into the rocket. Ueki took out his rank 4 weapons named Mash and managed to destroy his rocket. Without them knowing, it turns out that the fight has been witnessed by Baki. He reported to members of Robert 10 that Don had been defeated by Ueki. Hearing this, a chef named Marco became very angry and looked for Ueki. After Marco left, Rinko reported to Robert the situation. But Robert doesn't care about Don and Alessio because, for him, someone who has lost their strength is no longer part of Robert's 10 fighters. Robert said that Rinko is the most trusted person on the team. Hearing that, Rinko felt happy because she liked him. On the other hand, Marco was already in front of Ueki. Unexpectedly, Rinko appeared from behind Ueki and attacked him with her power that could turn beads into bombs. Because Ueki was attacked from both directions at once, he almost fell into the cliff. Marco attacks him using lava, but Don and Alessio are suddenly there. Ueki asked Marco and Rinko to stop their attack because it could hurt them. However, Marco ignored them again and continued to attack. Luckily, Ueki can change Marco's lava flow direction using a tree, while Rinko was still confused between saving Don and Alessio or obeying Robert to ignore them. When Ueki's shield shattered, he ran to Alessio and Don to take him away from there. Marco continues to attack them mercilessly, while Rinko stops his attacks and helps Ueki to save their friends. Seeing this, Ueki carried them all at once to move aside. Marco threatens to tell Robert about Rinko's actions and asks her to attack him. The sly Marco was about to attack Ueki from behind. Fortunately, Ueki knew about it and attacked him using Mash until he was finally defeated. Ueki said that he had considered Rinko as his friend. Hearing this, she was flattered because she had never had friends and chose to be on his side. Besides that, she really likes animals and plays with Tenko. Shortly afterward, Ueki fell because he was tired after facing 4 members of Robert's 10 fighters. His body had many injuries. Afterward, Tenko took out a healing animal from within him, and in 12 hours, he would recover. After that, Rinko pretended to return to the base to lie to Robert about what had happened. The scene switches to Rinko, who just arrived at the base and wants to tell Myojin that she managed to defeat Ueki. However, Myojin had already found out that she had betrayed them and intended to have a duel with her. Meanwhile, Yo-chan, Ogre, and Baki looked for Ueki's whereabouts until they met Tenko. Yo-chan ran in fear instead, while Ogre and Baki attacked Tenko simultaneously. However, Tenko managed to make a very strong barrier, so they couldn't penetrate it even though they had been attacking for 6 hours. Meanwhile, Myojin came there carrying Rinko's body which he had defeated. Tenko, who saw this, turned his attention so Rinko could take steps to free her bonds. As a result, their plan worked, then Tenko brought her into the shield. It turned out that Myojin could pierce the shield using his laser and was followed by Baki, who destroyed the shield with his meteor. After that, Rinko attacked Ogre while Tenko prevented Myojin and Baki from entering the cave. Ogre is very strong even though he has been hit by her attacks. It turned out that all this time, Ogre had been wearing a protective suit made of steel. At the same time, Ueki wakes up, finds out that his friends are being attacked, and wants to help them. But Tenko warned him not to leave before 12 hours so that the unfinished treatment wouldn't affect him. They fought until morning. Rinko had been defeated by Ogre, while Tenko had to lose one of his horns for resisting Myojin and Baki's attacks. Luckily, it was already 12 hours, so Ueki could get out of the cave. After that, Ueki stood before them and defeated Baki using Mash, while he defeated Ogre using Ranma. Seeing Ueki easily defeat his enemy, Tenko realized his tree power could strengthen his holy weapon. Even though his strength is at rank 4, his strength is twice that of rank 4. Not long after, Ueki fights against Myojin, who Tenko says that he has strength equal to rank 8 of celestial beings. However, he was overwhelmed by Ueki until he fell. It turns out that Myojin has 2 powers, namely turning whistles into lasers and turning cards into saws, thus turning things around. Arrogantly, Myojin said before he defeated Ueki and his friends, he would explain how he could have 2 powers at once. As it turned out, Myojin had 2 candidates that gave him 1 power each. So far, only Robert can't beat him and Sano, who can balance his strength. Myojin attacked Ueki until his leg was hit by the laser attack. Myojin was ready to end the fight by giving 6 cards at once. Suddenly, Ueki said that he already knew Myojin's weakness. Ueki, chased by the saw, ran towards Myojin, but he managed to dodge. Myojin said he should not fight Robert because if Robert has created a new world, then the members of Robert's 10 fighters will be given 1 country and become kings of that country. Ueki said Robert only cares about himself and doesn't deserve to be king. Soon afterward, Ueki got up and attacked Myojin using Kurogane. Myojin blocked the attack using laser power and almost managed to turn things around. However, Ueki managed to restrain Kurogane using mash, which hit Myojin's body very hard and defeated him. After defeating all 10 of Robert's fighters, Ueki intends to head to the base to fight him. Rinko tells Ueki that by defeating Myojin, their base has been destroyed, and Robert must not be there by now. Not long after, Mori and Wanko arrived in front of Ueki. It turns out that Wanko is a candidate from Sano, and he intends to ask Ueki for help because currently, Sano has joined Robert's 10 fighters. It turns out that there is still 1 member of Robert's 10 fighters, named Carl, who is the group's leader. Carl tells Sano that their members have been defeated by Ueki, surprising Sano. He introduced 2 new and more powerful members of Robert's 10 fighters from Myojin. On the other hand, Ueki continued to train until he was ranked 6 to save Sano. Tenko was surprised. In a short time, Ueki could rise 2 ranks at once. He still doesn't believe Sano, who has a wise nature, wants to join Robert's 10 fighters. Not long after, there is a letter from a bird for Ueki. It turns out that the letter was an invitation from Robert for him to come to his new headquarters. 5 days later, Ueki came to Robert's new base with Mori, Wanko, and Rinko. It turned out that their new headquarters was in an unused game center building. The funny thing is, to get into Robert's headquarters, they must win a car racing game first. Then they will be taken to the basement and wear the bracelets provided there. After that, they had to enter the arena of a 4-on-4 battle forcibly. Mori had to join the fight because she was already wearing her bracelet. If someone retreat, that person will be killed by the poison attack from the bracelet. Ueki has to press a button to choose his opponent and where to fight. He has to fight Yunpao in the cake field. Automatically, they were sent to the cake field. Ueki attacked Yunpao, who was busy eating the cake instead. But he can still dodge Ueki's attack and even respond by turning the electricity into sugar grains, so the electricity flows more evenly. Ueki became fat because he accidentally ate the cake there. It turns out that 100 grams of cake eaten will increase their weight by 1 kilogram. Knowing this, he ate a lot to keep up with Yunpao's body. He continued to be attacked while observing Yunpao's state limit. Finally, he found the limit of his condition, which required both Yunpao's eyes not to blink when carrying out an attack. Ueki lied to him by saying there was a chocolate cake behind him. After averting his gaze, Ueki attacked him with a rank 5 pick weapon. The battle continues between Mori against Kabara in the snow and without oxygen. Robert gave 10 hats to each participant. If the participants dance using the hat, then they can breathe. Then they both chase each other while occasionally dancing. She managed to lure him into the cave and took all his hats, making him, who ran out of oxygen, continue to chase her to tell him where his hat's whereabouts. And when Kabara put it on, his hat exploded because Mori had exchanged it for her hat. The rules of the match, participants are prohibited from wearing hats belonging to their opponents. Unfortunately, Mori fainted from running out of oxygen, so their fight was even, so that they both can join again in the next fight. In the third battle, Rinko will face Kabara in a room that contains a giant cat. Robert tells the rules of the match, where participants can turn their opponents into mice by touching the noses of the cats. Rinko attacked Kabara so that the cats woke up. Not long after, Kabara managed to touch the nose of one of the cats, turning Rinko into a mouse and prey for the cats. He attacks her using his wings. Carl said that Rinko wouldn't be able to attack cats because she loves animals. Luckily, Rinko saw the refrigerator in the room and managed to blow it up until the refrigerator door opened. The cats were distracted by the smell of food from inside the refrigerator, so she could touch the cat's nose and turn Kabara into a mouse. The fourth battle between Ueki and Sano in the jump rope arena with lava fire underneath. Ueki said he didn't want to fight against Sano and asked that the fight be considered a draw because his purpose in coming there was only to make Sano out of Robert's 10 fighters. But Sano replied that he joined of his own accord. Hearing that, Ueki was forced to fight Sano while occasionally having to jump and avoid the giant rope that kept spinning. Ueki tried to swallow him using mash, but Sano could still hold it in. When Ueki jumps over the rope, Sano wraps around Ueki's legs using his cloth that has been electrified. Ueki then attacked Sano, but Sano could always hold him back and even attack back. Surprisingly, Ueki was even more enthusiastic in that fight and seemed to enjoy it. He managed to cover both of Ueki's hands using his cloth, which turned into iron, so Ueki couldn't attack him again. Unable to understand, Ueki struck Sano using his two iron-wrapped hands. Sano swiftly released the coil, so they both attacked each other with bare hands. Not long after, the rope spins faster, and the two of them choose to fight in the air. But because Ueki's holy weapon was too heavy, he found it difficult to balance himself. Tenko tells him to use a method when defeating Myojin. Ueki uses pick to make a hole in the ground, so when the rope twists, he just has to duck without jumping. He attacked Sano from below, which made him bounce until he almost fell into the hot lava. Carl said that Sano must not die yet, because he still has a debt of promise to defeat 20 power users. Here it is revealed that Sano joined Robert's 10 fighters to save Wonko. Because behind Wonko's neck, Carl put a celestial beast named the Killer Pentagon that he didn't realize, where Carl can control the beast to finish off Wonko. Wonko asked why Sano had not told him all this time and chose to solve the problem in his own way. For Sano, Wonko is not only a candidate but already considers him his best friend. Carl tells another secret, where the bracelet that Ueki's team wears has no effect on the inhabitants of heaven. So if Ueki loses, only Mori and Rinko will die. Carl threatens Sano that if he loses, then Wonko will die. Unfortunately, Ueki only has two choices, save Mori and Rinko or Wonko. Wonko represented Ueki to answer. He chose to give power to Mori. If a candidate gave power to two different people, then that candidate would be severely punished in the underworld, even death. Wonko replies that he is more willing to be punished in the underworld as long as Carl can't threaten Sano anymore. After the granting of power to Mori was completed, Wonko was sent to the underworld. Everyone there was saddened by Wonko's departure, except for Carl, who laughed happily. Even Carl thought Wonko was stupid for sacrificing himself for someone else. Ueki, who was very angry, challenged Carl to fight with him. He agreed and went straight into the arena. Robert makes a new rule: if Ueki loses, Mori and Rinko will die from poison, even though Ueki's team has won 2 battles. He attacks Carl, while Carl uses Dawn's power to turn the ring into a rocket. It turns out that he can use Myojin's laser power to remove the rope so as not to interfere with their fight. Carl admits that his strength is imitating the strengths of others, especially members of Robert's 10 fighters. Carl used Kurokage's shadow technique to surround Ueki, then used Rinko's bomb to attack. Fortunately, Ueki changed places thanks to a rank 6 weapon called Raka. Carl suddenly made many clones around the arena, then all the clones fired lasers simultaneously. Luckily, Ueki could reflect the lasers until they hit each of them. Shortly afterward, Carl used Baki's meteor strike, but Raka's weapon could make Ueki's movements very fast. Ueki attacks him using pick. Then Carl made many clones by creating the power of Dawn and Kabara at once. But Ueki can move fast again by using Raka. Then he took out Ranam, which formed a giant sharp knife so he could cut the entire body of Carl's clone. Ueki finally managed to hit Carl's real body, thus making all his clones disappear. Carl, recognizing Ueki's prowess, took out a cell phone. With that cell phone, he can read Ueki's mind about how he will attack. After knowing that, Carl had the power to switch positions, making Ueki had to be hit by his attack. Then Ueki tries to trick Carl using a pick weapon. Pick will attack him backward when Carl changes positions, making him almost fall into the lava. Again, Carl swapped positions with Ueki. Carl is very sure that Ueki died from falling into the lava, but it turned out that Ueki had prepared mash before they switched places. Meanwhile, Ueki managed to survive using his tree. He was furious, then he approached Carl and beat him until he lost. As a result, the fight was won by Ueki. Ueki's team returned to the slot room with the poison bracelet, automatically released because their team was declared victorious. As a gift, Robert said that he would grant Ueki one wish. He asked to fight with Robert. Here, Robert reveals that he deceived the members of Robert's 10 fighters by saying he would give them one country and become king of that country. Even after he gets an empty talent, he will destroy the human world, including members of Robert's 10 fighters. Rinko, who is sad to hear Robert's words, speculates that he hates humans because he has always been bullied by their friends since he was 2 years old. Not only small children but even parents who fear Robert's strength force Robert's adoptive father to expel him, even though he always protects him. One day, it was revealed that Robert's adoptive father wanted to care for and protect Robert because someone gave him money even when he feared Robert's strength. At that time, he had wanted to hand over Robert to be tried by the residents. Unexpectedly, Robert went on a rampage and destroyed the city. Since then, Robert does not believe that there are still good people in this world. This anime continues with Robert entering the arena to grant Ueki's request to fight with him. Ueki attacks Robert using pick, but he manages to block it with hood much stronger than Ueki's. Arrogantly, he despises Ueki, who is still ranked 6 and will not be able to beat him at level 10. He even promises he will not take out weapons ranked 7 or higher to fight Ueki. Robert took out a kurogane that could change direction and hit Ueki. It is known that holy weapons have their own ranks, where all of Robert's holy weapons are currently at level 2. He attacks Ueki with a mash that can change the gravity of the opponent, so Ueki can't move when hit by that mash, then he is swallowed. Robert said the attack earlier was just a joke so Ueki could still survive his mash. That's what he did to keep Ueki alive to see the destruction of the human world. Ueki, who was on the human side, was furious with his words, and unexpectedly Ueki could pull out all his weapons at once. Robert was hit by one of Ueki's attacks, and apparently, at that time, Ueki had reached level 2 in his holy weapon. When Robert fires his kurogane again, Ueki distracts him using mash. After that, Ueki, chased by Kurogane's bullet using Raika, moved behind Robert. Ueki held Robert's body so that he was hit by his Kurogane bullet. Unfortunately, Robert uses a blue bubble to make the bullet fly. However, when he was about to finish off Ueki, the bullet destroyed the roof that hit Robert's body. Unexpectedly, it turned out that Ueki was hit by the rubble because of saving him. Robert, who did not want to be indebted to Ueki, lifted the rubble and plopped it on himself. With his debt paid off, he attacks Ueki using his drill-like pick and can penetrate Ueki's pick. Luckily, Ueki took out mash to prevent the drill from hitting him. The two of them collided with the power of the Kurogane, where Robert's holy weapon was stronger than Ueki's. But apparently, because of the barrage of attacks, the arena's shield was destroyed. When Robert was about to finish off Ueki, Rinko and Sano protected him. Robert lifted their bodies so they could drop them both from a height. While in the air, the two of them make a combination attack by hiding Rinko's beads in Sano's towel so that Robert is hit hard by their attacks. Meanwhile, Sano and Rinko could land safely thanks to Sano. Robert got up again and attacked them both using Kurogane. Apparently, Sano and Rinko were still able to get up, making Robert attack them both again. Luckily, Ueki was able to get up and protect them both. Ueki, who can move because he wants to protect his friends, says he doesn't want to lose his friends again, like what happened to Kobayashi and Wonko. Because of this determination, he could hold Robert's pick until he turned the tree into his own pick and knocked Robert down. Even though they both fell, they thought Ueki had won. It turned out that Robert could still get up, even breaking his promise by preparing to take out a rank 10 holy weapon. Unexpectedly, there was an explosion because someone came to that place as well. It turned out that that person was Kobayashi, who carried a message from the Heavenly King. He said that the first round was over, so the remaining participants could not fight before the second round had started. At first, Robert did not want to obey Kobayashi's orders. Then he showed a projection of the Heavenly King, who said that Kobayashi currently has a stopper tool that can eliminate a person's power. The king informed that Kobayashi was only temporarily released from the underworld to carry out a mission to inform all participants of the second round. Hearing this, Ueki asked that Kobayashi be released, but the king could not do that because he had to obey the rules. Ueki says that Kobayashi or Wonko must become the new Heavenly King so that one of them can change the rules. Hearing his answer, the king was amazed at Ueki, so he still made Wonko a candidate for Sano even though Wonko was in the underworld. Soon after, the king asks Kobayashi to be Mori's candidate, because Ueki already has Yo-chan. Then, before parting, Kobayashi said to Ueki that he had made him very proud. Afterward, Kobayashi disappeared again. Suddenly, Robert tells him that Ueki could match him in the previous fight just because he didn't use level 7 or higher holy weapon. Therefore, Robert asked him to become even stronger so that they could be equally strong in the next battle. Not long after, Robert asked Margaret for an opinion on the right decision for him, who wanted to destroy mankind. Margaret said that he no longer needed Robert and wanted to find a new fighter who was stronger than him. Then Margaret introduced a boy named Hanon, who was his biological child. Turns out, all this time, Margaret was just a fake. Suddenly, Hanon attacked Robert and defeated him in just 8 minutes. Then Hanon ate Robert to take his form. The next day, Ueki accidentally saw Hanon helping a grandmother look for her necklace. Cruelly, after finding the necklace, Hanon wants to destroy the grandmother's necklace. Luckily, Ueki managed to stop him. Not long after, Hanon changed his form to Robert in front of them, saying he was the new Robert Haydn. Then he left from there. Shortly after, Ueki chases Hanon to ask where the real Robert is. He replied that Robert was in his body, and to save Robert, Ueki had to be able to get him out of there. He attacked Hanon using Ranma, which Hanon could easily avoid. Mori tries to stop Ueki because, currently, the participants are forbidden to fight each other by the Heavenly King. Meanwhile, Hanon went straight through the portal of the underworld he had created. After that incident, Ueki told his friends about Hanon. It wasn't long before the heavenly male servant came to explain the rules for the second round, which would be held in 3 weeks. In the second round, the participants will fight in teams of 5 people. But they only had 4 people. Ueki and Mori were tasked with finding the 5th person named Soya Hideyoshi. The 2 of them arrived in a city. They saw Hideyoshi washing a car, where Ueki and Mori are tricked into washing someone else's car while Hideyoshi gets paid. Afterward, he left them just like that. The 2 then found Hideyoshi, who accidentally dropped something. He said that it was given to him by the orphanage children as a thank you. Soon after that, Hideyoshi told about a male candidate named Zack. He is the bad guy who keeps asking Hideyoshi to join his team, but Hideyoshi always refuses. After all, he doesn't have time because he has to take care of the children in the orphanage. Hearing this, Ueki didn't want to force him to join his team. That night, a man who is Zack's subordinate, named Nico, comes to kidnap a boy at the orphanage. He did this to lure Ueki and Hideyoshi to a park. As it turned out, the 2 of them had been waiting for a man named Ugo. It was revealed that Zack did this because Hideyoshi withdrew from the match and did not want to join his team. Shortly after that, a one-on-one fight ensues between Ueki and Nico, who has the power to turn his hair into a drill. Nico went straight to the ground and made him unable to see where his attack was coming from. Ueki began to study his attack, then he took out a pick. After that, the boy, Kentaro, told Ueki that the criminals had lured them there because Zack wanted to destroy the orphanage. Because of that, Ueki asked Kentaro to tell Hideyoshi about it while he was returning to the orphanage. But unfortunately, when Kentaro left, Ueki fell into the hole that Nico had made earlier. A few moments later, Kentaro managed to find Hideyoshi and told him. Unfortunately, Ugo managed to find them and then chased them into a building. There Hideyoshi, who has the power to convert sound into images, confused Ugo because his voice was heard from various directions. And when Ugo was off guard, Kentaro and Hideyoshi dropped him. After that, they rushed back to the orphanage. While at the orphanage, Mori was arrested by Zack and his 2 men, Capucho and Mario. Zack intends to destroy the orphanage so that Hideyoshi will have no more reason to refuse to join their team. Not long after that, Hideyoshi came and was attacked by Mario, who could turn his body into a billiard ball. Not long after, Hideyoshi creates pictures and sounds of children inside the building so that Zack doesn't destroy the orphanage. Because if they attack ordinary humans, all 3 can lose their power. It turned out that Capucho knew that it was a trick from Hideyoshi. He froze Hideyoshi's hands and feet with his strength, because according to Zack, Hideyoshi had to move at least one of his toes or hands to use his power. Then Mario attacked Hideyoshi, making him could not move. A few moments later, Nico, awakened from Ueki's attack, came. He tried to destroy the orphanage using his drill, but his attack hit Kurogane instead. Without realizing it, Ueki was there. He easily beat Mario using his pick, which sent Mario into Nico's hole earlier. Then secretly, Kentaro frees his friends, but Zack finds out, so he chases Kentaro into the building. On the other hand, Capucho managed to freeze the bullet from Ueki's Kurogane weapon, then he destroyed it. Afterward, Ueki took out Raika's weapon to avoid all of Capucho's attacks. Unfortunately, he fell because he stepped on the ice. Capucho used the opportunity to freeze his hands and feet. When he was about to finish off Ueki, his body suddenly froze. It turned out that Hideyoshi was free and put a picture of Capucho's face on Ueki's stomach. Hideyoshi imitated Capucho's power of turning sound into freezing liquid with the sound he made. Unexpectedly, Capucho can melt the ice easily just by saying the word reset. This allowed Ueki to be free and took out his rank 7 weapons called Gulliver, who could lock Capucho's body into a box. Not long after, Ueki goes to Zack to make him give up. Zack tells about Hideyoshi and his male candidate named Nero, who has been sent to the underworld for attacking a power user to protect Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi didn't want to leave the orphanage because it belonged to Nero, who had been entrusted to him. Knowing this, Ueki said he would not force Hideyoshi to join his team. Besides that, Ueki had a duty to free the prisoners in the underworld. Later, Zack tried to run away, but luckily Hideyoshi could knock him out. The next day, the orphanage children proved that it was true that they could do everything on their own and not depend on Hideyoshi. With that, he finally officially joined the Ueki team. After some time, Ueki trained inside Tenko's body, and he reached the rank of 8 power. Soon after, Tenko explains that he can only help Ueki train to rank 8. If Tenko pushes himself to reach level 10, he can die. Even so, he deliberately didn't tell Ueki everything because he wanted to help Ueki become stronger. A few days later, Yo-chan came to the hospital to apologize to Ueki. He regretted having sided with Margaret, who had deceived him. Even now, Margaret said he didn't need him anymore. Besides that, Ueki said he wants to forgive his mistake. The next day, Mori and the others went to pick up Hideyoshi at the station. They accidentally met Yo-chan, who asked about Ueki's whereabouts. They informed that Ueki is currently preparing to train to reach rank 9 with Tenko. Yo-chan said Tenko could die if he forced himself to help Ueki reach rank 9. Hearing this, Mori was very worried and wanted to prevent Ueki, so they rushed to his training place. When she got there, it turned out that Ueki had entered Tenko's body. Seeing that, Mori, who looked panicked, called Ueki from outside, but it seemed like it would be in vain. Luckily, there is Hideyoshi who can make images inside Tenko's body. Ueki asked Tenko to get himself out of his body. Ueki was mad with Tenko for not telling him about that, because if he knew, he would definitely prefer to practice alone, even if it takes years. However, Tenko insists on telling Ueki to keep practicing inside his body. After that, Ueki said he wanted to always be friends with Tenko. Hearing that, he was touched. The next day, the king's servant came to start the second round. In this battle, each team must choose one ice cream to determine the fate of the next team. Ueki chose the biggest ice cream and got them eliminated. Strangely, those who were eliminated still passed to the next round. Ueki's team was finally brought to the land of heaven to start the third round there. Arriving there, several teams are ready to start the next round. The king announced that the third round would begin with a fight between the teams that had been eliminated via ice cream sticks. Soon after, Ueki's team will face Grano's team. They will fight over the treasure on an island, but the map given is just a blank sheet of paper. Every time an opponent is killed, the map will be seen little by little. Not long after, the two teams arrived at the island separated from each other. At that time, Ueki and Mori will face Guitar and a boy named Pekal. Afterward, Ueki put Guitar into Gulliver, then beat him with his pick. But strangely, Guitar was not scratched at all. Then Mori, who has not been able to use her powers, must face Pekal, who does not like to fight. Shortly afterward, Guitar shows his power to turn sound into a shockwave that knocks Ueki down. After that, Guitar then ran over to Pekal. He was annoyed because Pekal just kept quiet and hid, then Guitar forced him to fight. Seeing this, Ueki got angry and attacked him again. But the attack was only parried with his bare hands and reversed back to Ueki, making him get hit by the power of the shockwave from Guitar. With a weakened condition, Ueki took out a rank 8 weapon named Namihana and managed to hit Guitar's head until he fell. As a result, the battle was won by Ueki's team. The anime continues with Rinko and Sano being separated from their friends. Soon, the two of them meet their enemy, Pacello, who can turn drawing books into portals, and Munin, who can turn jokes into reality. Munin joked that Sano was about to be slapped by a pig, and when he attacked Munin, he was slapped by a pig, and Rinko, who was beaten by a Buddha statue. They did not cooperate but instead fought until Munin joked that they would be chased by a group of rhinos. But it made them realize it, and the two decided to work together. After apologizing, Rinko and Sano reapply to fight Pacello and Munin. Sano immediately threw an iron spear while Rinko threw her beads at his body. The goal is that if Pacello's hand appears from the portal to attack them, his hand will be injured. Because Pacello didn't dare attack them, even Sano's spear could hit Munin's body. It didn't stop there. Sano hid many of Rinko's beads in his towel, causing Munin to be hit again for the second time. Finally, Rinko and Sano managed to beat them both. On the other hand, Pekal is telling Ueki why he joined the Gurano team. It turns out that Pekal just wants himself not to be a person who is considered weak by others. After seeing Ueki's fight earlier, Pekal realized that strength wasn't everything. He was amazed when Ueki fought for his friend, Mori. At the same time that Gurano came, Pekal immediately said he would not help Gurano, who only thought of himself. He wanted to imitate Ueki, who always helped others. Hearing that, Gurano mocked him by saying that a weak person like himself would be useless to others. Gurano continues to influence his mind until Pekal wants to help him because Pekal can turn photos into toys, while Gurano has the power to turn toys into real objects. Finally, Gurano managed to create a giant robot with his help, which could be influenced by him again. It is revealed that he wants to be friends with the weak Pekal because he needs Pekal's strength to make toys. Ueki was made to bounce by the giant robot he made, so Gurano boasted and asked him to give up. When Ueki said he would never give up, then attacked the robot until it fell. Unfortunately, problems will still arise if Pekal works with Gurano because they can create new robots again. Soon after, Ueki attacks the robot with his pick weapon, but it turns out that the robot they made is now stronger than the previous robot. Even though he had to fall many times, Ueki kept getting up. Pekal realized this until he dared to attack Gurano to make him angry. Finally, Gurano threw his body from inside the robot until he fell. Luckily, Ueki was able to catch him. Then Gurano will try to fire the cannon on the robot's body. Knowing this, Ueki attacks him with his pick and climbs up the robot's body to insert 2 logs into the hole of the robot's cannon without Gurano noticing. When Gurano fired his cannon, the robot's body immediately exploded. But he could still get up and hand over the toy in the form of Ueki's body. It turned out that before realizing his mistake, Pekal took a photo of Ueki and turned his body into a toy. Fortunately, Ueki is still Ueki, so even though Gurano creates his clone, he doesn't want to be controlled by Gurano. It even hit him with a double combo attack from two Ueki at once. After Gurano lost, their travel map was opened again and almost complete. Pekal asks Ueki to beat himself so his map is fully loaded, but he refuses and says he will search for treasure without using the map. Long story short, Ueki's team managed to find the treasure and won the third round. While he is being treated in the medical room, the king's servant informs him that the next match will bring together Marilyn's team and Capucho's team. They can watch the match live on the monitor screen. Meanwhile, Pekal said he wanted to quit and was ready to accept the consequences of losing his strength because he was not interested in empty talent. Then Ueki and his team run to watch the second match, wanting to know the strength of the other participants. But instead, they accidentally hit Yochan. He said the second match ended in 5 minutes, with Marilyn's team winning. In fact, they soon saw the body of the Capucho team brought by the medics in a very severe condition. Not long after, Marilyn's team met Ueki and said their team would fight against Ueki's team tomorrow. While he was resting at the hotel, Liho came to see him. Liho takes him somewhere to challenge him to a fight. Liho said with his current strength, Ueki wouldn't be able to beat Marilyn's team, let alone beat him. Therefore, Liho would acknowledge Ueki's strength if he could last until the sun went down. Even though the method is rough, it looks like Liho wants to help Ueki get stronger so he can beat Marilyn's team. Suddenly, Ueki attacked Liho using his pick, but Liho was behind him and attacked him until his body bounced forward. Not long after, the king's servant came who said that the unofficial fight had violated the rules. Hearing this, Liho immediately attacked the king's servant's body with a memory-busting punch so that he didn't remember anything when the king's servant woke up. The fight continued with Liho, who could withstand Ranma's attack from Ueki and managed to knock him out. Then Ueki took out Mash, but Liho relied on his speed to take Ueki down again. Not only Ranma but Liho can also withstand Kurogane's attack from Ueki using his Taichi technique. Liho says that Ueki always loses because he relies too much on his holy weapon, so he forgets to use human strength. Then, he beat Ueki again using his physical strength. After taking lessons from Liho, Ueki imitated his technique. Liho was surprised to see that he could focus on the power of celestial beings, which exceeded ordinary humans' power. Then Ueki managed to attack Liho until he used his full strength to fight back. They fought at a very high speed. Here is the experience that determines everything. Liho, who is used to relying on physical strength, manages to defeat Ueki. Liho teaches Ueki another lesson, saying that he still can't control his power and needs to practice more to master it. Thinking that Ueki could no longer get up, Liho immediately left him. Unexpectedly, Ueki could rise again with his strong determination and win the fight. Because previously, Liho said if he could still survive until sunset, he would be the winner. Ueki, who was not satisfied with his victory, challenged Liho to fight again. But he asked Ueki to focus on defeating Marilyn's team because they would meet again in the final battle. Ueki accepts his terms and is determined to beat Marilyn's team in tomorrow's battle. Not long after, the king's servant was aware and confused by what had happened. In the dungeon, Wanko and Kobayashi are told by the warden that someone wants to meet the two of them. It turned out to be Yochan who brought the television so the two of them could watch Ueki's team match. His purpose in doing that was to win the hearts of both of them so that one of them became king, then he would easily become the servant of the heavenly king. On the other hand, Ueki's team finally entered the arena to fight Marilyn's team. The king then announced the rules of the match this time, where each participant will hold a necklace containing points, and the team that collects the most points will be declared the winner. Then the two teams are sent to a ghost town, which is actually inhabited by ghosts. While Ueki's team was walking, they were shot at by someone. Luckily, Ueki realized that and protected his team using hood. Then they all chose to take shelter in a building, but someone had closed its exit. Finally, Marilyn's team appeared, boasting that they would beat Ueki's team in just 4 minutes. One of Marilyn's team threw a flash grenade, making Ueki's team unable to see. Luckily, Ueki and Sano managed to protect Mori and Hideyoshi, the weakest among them. Unfortunately, Marilyn managed to catch Rinko and took her necklace worth 1 point. Ueki looks like he's about to attack Marilyn with his pick, but he decides to devise a plan before making an attack and leaves from there. On the other hand, Marilyn's team failed to beat Yuki's team within 4 minutes. While running, Ueki stopped his steps because he had the idea to beat Marilyn's team easily, where he told his friends to leave him alone. Not long after, Marilyn's team came from behind him until he was ganged up by 3 members of Marilyn's team. Ueki, who is trapped in a smoke bomb, must have a duel with a man named Baron. With Liho's training, Ueki could bring down Baron even though the big man could get up again. It turns out he doesn't have any plans to beat Marilyn's team, he just wants to buy time so his team can escape. On the other hand, Ueki's team is looking for a safe hiding place. They were happy because they thought Ueki had a plan to beat Marilyn's team. Unbeknownst to them, he faces Baron while Marilyn and the others chase them. Ueki, who is not good at close combat, tries to keep his distance using Raka. But suddenly, Baron was behind him. It turned out that Baron could move wherever he threw his knife. And sure enough, by throwing a knife, Baron could always dodge Ueki's holy weapon attacks. Because his holy weapon doesn't work, Ueki finally decides to use the Liho technique to fight Baron in close combat. But Baron has more experience, so he can bring Ueki down again. He felt confused about what method to use to defeat Baron until he had the idea to combine physical strength with the power of holy weapons. That method almost worked even though Baron could dodge his pick. In the second attack, Ueki dropped Baron and then issued his Kurogane, which directly hit Baron's face. He became very angry and attacked again, but Ueki managed to block it and threw his body into the building. Baron had time to dodge with his knife, but he was hit by a pick attack from Ueki. Seeing Baron still able to get up, Ueki decided to destroy the building with his level 2, which could take out all his holy weapons at once. While he saw a gap in the wall of the building, he didn't know that Ueki had put his mash outside the gap. It turns out that Ueki's goal was to trap him out of the gap that Mash's trap had set. Because of his intelligence, Ueki was able to win the fight. On the other hand, Marilyn and her team have successfully followed Ueki's friends. She shows her arrogance and says Sano alone can't beat them. Their only hope was Ueki, but she thought he wouldn't be able to get there in time. Sano immediately attacked them and turned his iron into a towel, which had been charged with electric power so that Marilyn's team was electrocuted. After that, Sano and his friends ran away and hid in the building. Unbeknownst to them, Rinko's body had been put into a coffin by a group of ghosts who turned out to be the match committee. They are tasked with evacuating injured participants. After that, a smoke bomb exploded from Marilyn's team, who had managed to find their whereabouts. Sano tried to get his friends to escape, but they were almost crushed by the rubble of the building. Luckily, he was still able to protect Mori and Hideyoshi. Soon a woman named Memory arrives to report to Marilyn that Baron has been defeated. Hearing this, she seemed happy and excited to fight Ueki head-on. Meanwhile, Sano, Mori, and Hideyoshi face the 3 remaining members of Marilyn's team. Marilyn's team uses smoke bombs again to make it difficult for their opponents to see and set many traps to hunt their prey. A man named Matthew immediately attacked Ueki's team in a puff of smoke using gunfire. Then a man named Pudding, who has the power of a 4-dimensional portal in his mouth, makes a wooden trap and directs it at Sano. Fortunately, Mori saves him. After that incident, he realized that he was not alone and still had his 2 friends to fight together. Sano asked his 2 friends to spread out to make a mashup. Unexpectedly, Pudding came down to face off one-on-one with him. He changes the plan to hide in a building, but Memory, good at making strategies, predicts this and sets a trap until Hideyoshi is finally trapped there. It turns out Sano's plan is to lure Pudding into the battle arena, and when Memory is alone, Hideyoshi will appear behind him. Just as Hideyoshi was about to attack Memory, she had set up another trap. She rearranged her strategy for her 2 friends without knowing Hideyoshi could still get up. After that, she was surprised by Hideyoshi standing behind her using an iron towel on his stomach so he was not injured after being hit by the trap. Without direction from her, Matthew and Pudding got into trouble until Sano managed to cover Pudding's mouth with his iron fist. Because Pudding can't make a sound, Matthew misses the target and shoots Pudding, causing Matthew to lose the fight. After that, Hideyoshi returned with his team, while Memory looked disappointed because all her plans had fallen apart. Not long after, Marilyn contacted Memory because she had lost track of Ueki, who was not at Baron's place. It turned out that he was lost and was in the mouth of a shark in the middle of the sea. After that, Memory, who felt very angry, threw a wooden box and asked Matthew to seriously use his strength. It turns out that the wooden box contains weapons because he has the power to increase his hands to 6. Sano, who tried to protect Mori and Hideyoshi, was shot by Matthew. After that, Matthew targeted them without realizing that Sano was still able to get up. He resurrected his 2 friends, saying their job was to just hold on until Ueki returned. Soon Marilyn came back there. She ruthlessly kicked the 3 of them to the ground. Sano immediately ordered Hideyoshi to run away while he remained there to protect Mori, who could not move so that Marilyn's team couldn't take all their points. Matthew immediately shot Hideyoshi, but he still managed to escape. When Sano was about to be killed, Hideyoshi didn't really run away because he was determined to protect his friends and didn't want to always depend on Sano. Thanks to Hideyoshi, the 3 of them escaped even though it didn't last long. When Sano was about to be killed, Ueki finally arrived there. He said that he would repay 10 times over for what Marilyn had done to his friends. Just as Ueki was about to attack, the king made an announcement. He said that the battle time was only 10 minutes. Therefore, the Heavenly King told who was the person holding the necklace with 10 points in each team, namely Marilyn and Mori. Knowing this, Mori tried to run away because she was being targeted by Marilyn while still thinking about what kind of power Wonko had given her. Marilyn asked Memory to go after Mori, followed by Sano and Matthew. Meanwhile, Ueki had to duel with Marilyn there. He guessed that her strength was moving at high speed because she suddenly could get in front of him and beat him. Ueki attacked her with Namihana, which was easily dodged by Marilyn, and she immediately kicked his stomach until he bounced. Shortly afterward, Ueki took out his Ranma, but Marilyn managed to hit him until he bounced off. After falling several times, Ueki realized that her power was to extend the time and could turn 1 second into 10 seconds. Therefore, she can move faster even though her opponent feels that time is running normally. She continued her attack with a very fast punch to his face. Meanwhile, in another place, Sano must face Matthew, who prevents him from following Mori. Sano tried to distract him by throwing the debris in his towel. After that, he attacked Matthew from behind, but Matthew could block his attack using his many hands. From that mistake, Sano got hit by Matthew's 2 remaining hands. Fortunately, Sano can still survive because he has covered his body using an iron towel. Matthew arrogantly said that Sano's power was useless like trash. Sano, who got that power from Wanko, was very angry at Matthew. When he was about to finish off Sano using 6 bullets at once, the bullets turned around on their own. At that time, Sano managed to awaken his level 2 power, which could make his iron have a magnetic field. Besides holy weapons, it is known that the power of heaven can also be leveled up, while Ueki has been able to level up his 2 sacred weapons but has not been able to raise his tree power to level 2. Sano cleverly threw his iron at Matthew when he fired at Sano so that the magnetic field attracted all of Matthew's guns and iron. Because iron weapons are useless, he uses 6 weapons made of copper, and he beat Sano again. Sano immediately threw 6 iron towels at him who could wrap all his bats. When he managed to cover the bat, Sano threw a boomerang at Matthew, who continued to follow him. It turns out that he managed to wrap his iron around Matthew's stomach. When Matthew is too busy dodging the boomerang, he uses the opportunity to defeat Matthew with his iron rod. On the other hand, Ueki looks helpless against Marilyn's power. Whatever Ueki did, she could prolong time and watch everything move slowly. While using Reika, she could match his speed and hit him again. Ueki again tried to use Reika's speed combined with the sudden attack of Namihana's power. Even though Marilyn could still dodge, it looks like she was hit by a little attack from Ueki's Namihana. She beat him, but he didn't fight back because he was waiting for the right time to launch a sudden attack like earlier. When Ueki had time and was ready to fight, he saw Marilyn burst into tears. Makes him stop his attack even though he has to be hit by her. Ueki said that he didn't want to fight, then Ueki planned to catch up with Mori. Marilyn also asked why he left, and Ueki replied that he did not want to fight with someone who lied. Seeing that, Marilyn attacked Ueki from behind, even though he kept walking and ignored her. Feeling neglected, she uses her level 2 powers, which can add to her physical strength. But he still didn't want to fight with the person who had lied to his heart. The incident kept repeating itself until Marilyn finally remembered her past, where once she and her friends were born in a war-torn country, thus making her and her friends trained as soldiers from childhood. One day the adult troops went to war and ordered Marilyn to grow up to be a strong person after they returned. Unfortunately, when the war was over, the soldiers never returned because they died in the war, while she kept her promise to become stronger by continuing to fight, even though her little heart actually didn't like fighting. After remembering that, it turns out that her level 2 strength has a weakness, where when her strength has run out, then she will be unconscious. Seeing that, Ueki did not take advantage of Marilyn because he still carried her to Mori's place. On the other hand, Capucho's team watched the match between Ueki's and Marilyn's teams through the television screen. They commented that even though Marilyn could be taken down, Ueki didn't take her necklace worth 10 points. Therefore the decision was on Mori, who was being chased by Memory. Because Memory's power is ineffective against attacks, while Mori still doesn't know what kind of power she has, they just look at each other. Suddenly Mori's foothold collapsed, and she managed to escape from Memory. The two chase each other until she is stuck at a dead end. Instead of attacking Mori, Memory shows the results of her analysis, which contains a 97% chance of Memory winning against her. While the remaining time was only 2 minutes left, Memory immediately beat Mori. Strangely, Memory said that she couldn't hit Mori on the second blow. It turns out that Mori managed to activate her power that can make her opponent become a lover of glasses. Then she took the opportunity by threatening to break her glasses if Memory didn't want to bang her head against the wall. Memory, that had been affected by the power of Mori, immediately obeyed. Even though at the end of the fight, neither team got a 10-point necklace, Ueki's team still won because they led by 3 points against 2. When everyone thought Mori's strength was ridiculous, Hanon thought otherwise. According to Hanon, Mori's power is frightening because no matter how strong the opponent is, surely that person will be affected by her power. After the fight was over, Ueki's team received medical treatment. Then Marilyn came to see them because, thanks to Ueki, Marilyn finally realized that she had spent 10 years in vain. She still continued to fight even though her fellow soldiers would never return. Soon the rest of Marilyn's team arrived. Mori said that she realized the meaning of friendship after seeing Ueki fight to protect each other. The next day, Ueki's team had to do their final match in the third round to move on to the fourth round. Everyone is excited and confident that they can beat their opponent, Kapucho's team. Unexpectedly, while on their way, Hanon blocked them all from participating in the match. Hanon immediately made Ueki's friends faint with his fast attack, leaving Ueki and Sano behind. Then he attacked Hanon using his pick and Raka, but Hanon was able to take out Robert's Raka until he managed to catch Ueki and hit Sano's body. Because Hanon's goal was only to make Ueki's team fail, he just walked away. As a result, Kapucho's team won the battle because of Hanon's actions. Hanon wants Ueki's team not to qualify easily because if they lose against Kapucho, Ueki's team will fight Baro's team to qualify for the fourth round. Actually, Hanon just wanted Ueki to get stronger because he wanted a worthy opponent. It is known that the battle system is not a knockout system, so every participant who loses still has another chance to fight other participants. The team that wins 3 times will advance to the next round. The next day, Ueki's team was scheduled to fight against Baro's team to determine which of the 2 teams had the right to advance to the fourth round. But before the match starts, the participants are allowed to return to their respective homes. Ueki, who has arrived at his house, looks confused after knowing that Hanon can use Robert's holy weapon at 10-star level 2. Luckily, he has an older sister and father who can comfort him. Then Ueki honestly told his family that he had gone to join the fight all this time. In the evening, when he was about to return to the land of heaven, his father and older sister took him to the front of the house. Arriving in heaven, Ueki walked around thinking about how to improve himself. Suddenly he meets Pagu, who turns out to be his biological father, but he doesn't know it yet. After that, Ueki even invited Pagu to stay at his hotel, making him uncomfortable. Seeing him being awkward, Ueki and his friends tried to lighten the mood by inviting Pagu to play a silly game. While in a hot spring, Pagu thought that if Ueki knew who he was, Ueki might hate him. But on the other hand, Pagu also feels very happy because he can spend time with Ueki. Pagu, who looks sorry for dumping Ueki as a baby, finally decides to leave. But he felt an evil aura from 3 people who seemed to be targeting Ueki. As a result, Pagu tries to protect him and makes the 3 people run away. After that, Pagu decided to return to him and teach him how to get him to level 2. The next day came the moment when Ueki's team had to face Baro's team in a one-on-one battle, where the team that can win will immediately qualify for the fourth round. Their fighting arena has an area that makes their power unusable, so if the participant takes cover, then any great power will not hit them. But the participants can only be there for 10 seconds. If it exceeds that, then they will be declared defeated. A draw was also held, where Rinko's first battle was against a male participant named Bandicoot, a resident of heaven. And sure enough, because he directly attacked Rinko using pick. He also tells the truth that all members of Baro's team are inhabitants of heaven who were banished to earth from infancy, just like Ueki. Because Bandicoot leaked their secret, his team immediately took off their masks. Their team consisted of a guy named Diego Star, level 3 with a 6-star dream, Baro Echelon, level 1 with an 8-star dream, and a guy named Kill Norton, level 2. All this time, they had hidden their identity so that the Heavenly King did not suspect it. Sano felt a little confused about why the inhabitants of heaven, like Baro's team, could gather into one team. It turned out that they did that on purpose to support Robert or Hanon's victory so that Margaret could become king. On the other hand, Rinko couldn't fight back because she saw a cute face on Bandicoot's pick. It turns out that he has the power to turn inanimate objects into life. Not only pick, but his Kurogane also has a face that makes Rinko unable to attack him. Rinko, who was hit constantly, was thinking of finding a way to defeat him. Moreover, she felt useless because, during the match against Marilyn's team, she had to be the first to lose, so she didn't want to lose again. When Rinko falls, Bandicoot arrogantly taunts her that she is a useless burden to her team. Hearing that, she felt angry and got up again until finally, she was able to beat his pick. It turned out that at that time, Rinko had lost consciousness. Then she showed a glove made by her family's company that could make her slap as strong as a missile. With that glove, Rinko, who had lost consciousness, attacked Bandicoot until she won the fight. After the fight was over, Baro approached Bandicoot. He was very upset because he underestimated Rinko too much, so Baro beat him up so he wouldn't be selected for the next match. This time, the rules of the match are the same as against Robert before, so fighters who have competed may not be re-elected. The second battle begins. Sano fights a large man named Diego Star, who has the power to make objects invisible, so that made Sano suddenly bounce because he didn't see anything attacking him. At that time, he was attacked by Diego Star's holy weapon. Sano counterattacked, but Diego Star cleverly activated Raka to retreat to a neutral area. His attack finally couldn't hit Diego Star's body, then he was even hit by Diego Star's pick attack. Sano was smart. When Diego Star advanced toward him, it turned out that he had prepared a magnetic iron ball that directly hit Diego Star's body in a landslide. But Diego Star's body was not injured and instead attacked him back until he bounced off. When he was about to be killed, Sano jumped and attacked him with many boomerangs. Even he was blown away. But it turned out to be just a diversion because when Diego Star was about to approach Sano, his feet were caught in Sano's trap in the neutral area. When that happened, Sano put the iron on both his feet so that he could move quickly because of the repulsive force of the magnetic field through the boomerangs he threw earlier. Finally, at a very high speed, Sano lunged at Diego Star's body until it crashed. Then Diego Star attacks Sano around the neutral area and threatens to kill him if he gets out of there. The rule said that Sano must not be in that area for more than 10 seconds or he would be declared defeated. Sano, who felt the killing aura from Diego Star, didn't move and ran out of time. As a result, Barrow's team won the second half. On the other hand, Hanon and Margaret were talking, where Margaret said that their goal would soon be achieved and their clan plan would soon be realized. In the third battle, Mori will face Kill Norton. Afterward, Wonko tried to contact them to tell them how to activate Mori's power, where her opponent had to put out a cute pose. But it would be difficult for her now because her opponent was a man. It's ridiculous that Hideyoshi gave an article that made Kill Norton suddenly pose cute until he was hit by Mori's power. Mori immediately asked Kill Norton to bang his head, but unexpectedly he could resist it. It turned out that Kill Norton, a glasses lover, refused because he feared his glasses would be damaged. Afterward, Sano asked Mori to take the glasses used by Kill Norton so that he would not refuse her orders. It turned out that Kill Norton was a genius, so even though he was hypnotized by Mori, he had learned how to fight her. It's ridiculous that the genius method in question is to use tape so that his glasses stick to the skin of his ears. After that, Kill Norton attacked Mori and was about to take her glasses. Mori, who went berserk, attacked his face until his glasses fell off. Seeing this opportunity, she threatened to break his glasses if he disobeyed. Kill Norton, who was hit by her power, could still think that she would not break the glasses because that thing prevented him from attacking her. Unexpectedly, Mori broke her glasses. Seeing the two broken glasses, Kill Norton immediately attacked her. It turned out that she had bought 100 spare glasses to prepare for the fight. She raised a large rock and threatened to destroy all the glasses if Kill Norton didn't hit his head. As a result, Mori can win the fight without Kill Norton having to show his true strength. Ueki's team bus advanced to the fourth round with just one more fight. Unfortunately, it was Sano's turn to fight again to fight Barrow. Sano, who had received a lot of damage from the previous battle, could be defeated in one hit from Barrow's Kurogane, which could shoot 2 bullets at once. Not long after, the cruel Barrow approached him, who was already unable to move, and hit him with Kurogane again. It is known that in this round, the position of the two teams is balanced, so the next battle will be decisive. And in this final battle, Ueki will face Barrow. But Tenko can analyze Ueki's level, which could be at this time he is at level 0, so his holy weapon can't be used. And sure enough, Ueki can't use his holy weapon. It turned out that it was a request from Pagu because the only way to make his level up was then Ueki to temporarily leave his power. Pagu said that what prevented Ueki from advancing to level 2 was that he often combined his holy weapons with 3 weapons. Currently, only Robert can level up holy weapons and celestial powers simultaneously. While Ueki is not as talented as Robert, he can only raise his level of holy weapons, but his celestial power is not yet. That's why Pagu asked Ueki to only focus on using his imaginary power. Because Ueki agreed not to use his holy weapon, the ceiling temporarily transferred the sacred weapon's power into Tenko's body. The fight began, and sure enough, Ueki only fought Barrow's weapon using his tree power. Seeing that opportunity, Barrow continuously attacked him mercilessly. Not enough with Kurogane, he also took out Mash, who seemed to hit Ueki heavily. He learns that Ueki's goal in the match is to save Kobayashi and the other candidates held in the dungeon. He also offers Ueki to join Hanon like himself, promising Hanon will free Kobayashi when he wins. Suddenly Barrow's Mash can be penetrated by the power of the Ueki tree until it splits while saying that he has not lost. Seeing that, he asked how Ueki could win without his holy weapon. Besides, he didn't know what power Barrow had. At the same time, Sano got up and told Barrow's power was deja vu, so Baron's power can make one experience deja vu, which he combines with his holy weapon. Just like what Sano experienced, even though he had just been shot using one Kurogane bullet, suddenly, from the other side, another Kurogane bullet appeared just like that. It turned out that the bullet came from Sano's deja vu, who had previously felt the shot from the Kurogane bullet. Hearing that, Barrow was amazed by his precise analysis. But he said it was useless because even though Ueki knew his strength, Ueki was already in a mess. Feeling belittled, Ueki got up and replied that nothing was useless. Moreover, Sano sacrificed himself just to reveal Barrow's true power. Barrow again attacked Ueki, but he could only dodge. Seeing that, Ueki's friends couldn't bear it and asked Tenko to return the contents of the holy weapon. Ueki was almost finished with a holy weapon attack, many created from Baro's deja vu. And when pressed, Ueki reached his level 2, which was very strong. At level 1, his strength is turning trash into trees, while at level 2, his power is recycling or reversing, which means that power can reverse the opponent's strength to be like before. For example, Sano can turn a towel into an iron. If it is hit by Ueki's level 2 power, the iron will turn back into a towel. Meanwhile, Baro's power is deja vu, which isn't real. So if it get hit by Ueki's level 2 power, then the weapons created from deja vu will disappear. Baro again attacked him with Pick, Namihana, and Ranma in succession, while Ueki used Raika to dodge. From these attacks, it turns out that Baro activates deja vu so that the body and holy weapons he uses become many. But thanks to the reversal power, Ueki could eliminate it and intentionally left Baro's deja vu body. When he beats it, then Baro's real body will be affected by the attack. Therefore, Ueki won the fight, so his team could advance to the 4th round. Soon afterward, Baro remembers his past, when he was a good boy and loved his human mother very much. But one night, he accidentally shot his mother using Kurogane because little Baro thought his mother was a thief who broke into his house, because previously, his mother said that she would come home late. After that incident, his mother could only lie on the bed like an undead. Baro recalled the teachings of his mother, who was a painter, where she said a beautiful painting can move one's soul. That's why every day he always paints, even though none of his paintings can make his mother move again. Until one night, his house was actually invaded by thieves. Knowing that, he attacked the 3 thieves using his Kurogane. But his mother, who saw the weapon, was frightened and reacted. Since then, Baro thought he was a monster because his mother feared him. When Baro left the house, he met Margareth. He promised to grant any wish Baro wanted if he wanted to join him. At that time, Baro said that he just wanted to be a human without a holy weapon so that he could live with his mother. After his battle against Ueki, filled with feelings for his friends, Baro realizes he is not a monster. He needs to use his feelings to produce a beautiful painting for his mother. Soon the Heavenly King announced that the winner was Team Ueki, but the new team also qualified because previously they had won 3 matches as well. It turned out that the Heavenly King had known for a long time that beings from the underworld like Hanon and Margareth were in for a great match. In the past, the creatures of the underworld and the inhabitants of heaven were always at war. But during the reign of the previous Heavenly King, the 2 beings managed to make peace. However, an underworld clan called the Guardian Clan, including Hanon and Margaret, refuses to accept the peace. They still want to fight and seize empty talent from the people of heaven. That's why the Heavenly King deliberately held a tournament with empty talent as his reward to lure the Guard clans into the tournament. He also deliberately included young people fighting for the future so that the Guardian clans could respect their own future and forget their old grudges. Even though it turns out that Hanon and Margareth are still acting so far, Karen, the Snag Heavenly King, lost his patience, then met them both. The Heavenly King asked the fake Margaret to show his real form, thus making Margaret a little surprised. Margareth asked if he also knew that Pagu and the other candidates deliberately threw their children into the human world to enter the tournament. It turned out that the Heavenly King had known about it and allowed it to happen because a normal human child wouldn't be able to fight the underworld creatures during the tournament. The king said that he would forcibly take the real Margaret's body, which was swallowed by the fake Margaret like Hanon, who had swallowed Robert. The fight was unavoidable between the fake Margareth against the Heavenly King. When these 2 people use their holy weapons, the king manages to lock the fake Margareth in Gulliver while he is hit by Mash's attack. But the 2 could get away from each other, then do close combat. The fight had stopped, and the king told him if he managed to appreciate the future of a human girl and hoped that the guards could forget his past and look to the future like that girl. When 25 years ago, the young king was traveling in the human world, he accidentally meets a woman who is being bullied by 2 thugs. The king helped her until the 2 of them became friends. The woman always looks cheerful and optimistic when looking at her future. Until the time of parting, she gave a souvenir in the form of glasses that the king always wears on his head until now, while the king gave him an earring. Unfortunately, she died in an accident 12 years ago. It turned out that the woman the Heavenly King was talking about was Ueki's human mother, named Ueki Haruko. The fight continued until it caused a terrible shock that was felt by many people. Sano and Rinko, who happened to be the closest, headed straight for the location that was already looking shattered and disorganized by that time. Not long after, the 2 of them saw the fierce battle between the Heavenly King and Margaret. The king managed to lock Margaret in Gulliver and then slashed him with Namihana, but it turns out that he managed to fend off Hood. He said that the Heavenly King will never understand the pain they have felt so far, and the future will also be meaningless. After that, the fight still continued using various attacks. Because of the fierce battle, they seemed to have been seriously injured. Even though Margaret knew that the king did not fight seriously because he had a stopper tool that could neutralize the opponent's strength. However, in that battle, the king did not use it at all. Because of that, Margaret considered their fight a draw. Then they both agreed to watch the 4th round of the fight and see to the end who was right. Margaret believes there is no today without the past or the king who lives for the future. Suddenly he was surprised by Hanon, who suddenly stabbed the body of the heavenly king from behind, saying that Hanon would take over the 4th round. Hanon said the most important thing in life is strength. After overthrowing the king, he said something surprising. He never cared about the Guardian clan and their past because Hanon had dreams of his own. Not long after, Hanon took the stopper from the body of the heavenly king who was dying and then ate the king's body so that he could dominate the match. He tells Margaret that to make his dream come true, he has to fight a very strong person. Therefore, Hanon deliberately arranged the match so that Ueki won against Baro's team. With the power of the king, who had been swallowed, Hanon created many stone pillars called the Way of Life. After that, he announced that the 4th round would start tomorrow morning. Hanon, who controlled the 4th round, he was honest with all the participants that he had swallowed the heavenly king's body, even showing who he really was. He told the rules of the 4th round, which anyone can fight on the condition that that person must be able to find a way into the stone pillar of the Way of Life, which has 4 doors. Baro's team was undecided whether to join the attack or not. Because of Margaret's previous instructions, they could beat anyone except Hanon. But all that changed. If he won, he would destroy all living things without exception to make his dream come true. All Baro's team are ready to fight, except for Kill Norton, who doesn't want to fight in a battle where there is no chance of winning. Then he decided to leave the arena. Hideyoshi also intended not to participate in the 4th round. On the other hand, Margaret looks confused due to Hanon's previous words that he never cared about the Guard clan. Meanwhile, Sano and Rinko watched the Heavenly Kings battle that night and were already on the road to life. Even though Sano said, for now, they should hide without doing anything. Soon Liho appeared boldly, and he immediately challenged Hanon. Liho also attacks him by relying on his physical strength, but Hanon also has physical strength that can rival him. Meanwhile, Ueki and Mori are running toward the path of life until Margaret confronts them both. He invites Ueki to fight, but Ueki refuses. Then Margaret threatened to hurt Mori. Soon after that, Ueki tried to attack him, but Margaret could bring him down. In the battle arena, Liho had a hard time facing Hanon because he could outperform Liho in a physical strength contest. Realizing that ordinary attacks can't touch Hanon, Liho uses his technique called Gonkutsuo to end the fight. In fact, Hanon could hold his technique with just one hand, then threw Liho's body until he was unconscious. Seeing that, Sano and Rinko appeared, but they weren't alone because Bandicoot and Diego Star had also arrived. Meanwhile, Margaret told Ueki that Hanon was stronger than himself because the underworld creatures had above-average physical strength. Besides that, Hanon had also swallowed Robert, and the Heavenly King. Margaret asked how Ueki would defeat him. Surprisingly, Margaret said Ueki must defeat Hanon to save the future. Then he showed his real form, an imaginary animal like Tenko, and he was willing to help Ueki rise to 10 stars by using the power room. While Ueki is training with Margaret, Mori heads to the Pillar of Life alone. Unexpectedly, when she was confused about which way to enter, Kill Norton appeared behind her. On the other hand, Hanon is being ganged up by 4 people at once, but he can still dodge all the attacks easily. Because ordinary attacks don't work, Sano takes out a magnetic peg named Choga Zonbil and Bandicoot and Diego Star, who combine their holy weapons. However, they were all made to bounce by Hanon. Just as Hanon was about to finish Sano, Mori and Kill Norton arrived. Seeing that, the 3 Baro's team immediately united their strength. But before that happens, Hanon attacks Kill Norton using his Kurogane until he loses. 2 hours have passed, by which time Ueki has managed to reach 9 stars. Meanwhile, Hanon intends to eliminate Mori first because he considers her power the most dangerous. Luckily, Sano was still able to protect her, then they all attacked Hanon at the same time. This time Bandicoot and Diego Star were protecting Rinko when she was about to be hit by Hanon's Kurogane. After taking them both down, Hanon attacks Rinko and Sano, leaving only Mori alone. Then he approached Mori, saying they had all fought for almost 9 hours. Afterward, he strangled her and knocked her off the Pillar of the Way of Life. Unexpectedly, Ueki came to catch Mori while flying using a sacred weapon in the form of a pair of wings named Seiku. Seeing that, Hanon immediately took out his Seiku and fought in the air with Ueki. He attacks using his pick, which is blocked by Hanon using Robert's pick. Hanon then emits a dark aura which turns out to be a 10-star holy weapon called Archenemy, which can be created according to the owner's mind. He could create a big monster and ordered the monster to attack Ueki. After that, Ueki also issued his archenemy and made Kobayashi's form until he was laughed at by Hanon. The funny thing is that archenemy can refuse when Ueki asks him to attack Hanon because he feels angry that he has been given the form of an old man. After an unimportant debate, the two of their archenemy finally fought each other. It turns out that Hanon's archenemy can outperform Ueki's archenemy. Seeing the strength of Hanon's archenemy, Ueki stays away from there because he doesn't want Hanon's attack to hit his friends. But Hanon caught him and repeatedly beat him using all his holy weapons. Afterward, he mocked Ueki's archenemy, who was very weak. Therefore he intended to finish off Ueki and everyone on the pillars of the way of life with his last archenemy attack. Every celestial being has its own limit to issue archenemy, where Robert and Ueki can only fire the holy weapon 6 times. Right now, Hanon was only using Robert's archenemy because the previous heavenly kings had been used up against Margaret. Then Ueki took out his archenemy to restrain the giant monster. With the determination to protect his friends, Ueki could finally outperform Hanon's archenemy. After that, Hanon looks strange, and it turns out he is trying to vomit Robert's body so that he loses his imaginary power, with the intention that Ueki loses all his talents. Due to the rules of the match, people with power cannot attack people who do not have supernatural powers or are not participants. At that time, the remaining talent Ueki only 18. Because of this, he can only attack Hanon 18 times. Besides, power users will die if they lose all their talents. He entrusts Robert to Mori and intends to fight again. He immediately lost one of his talents in vain because the pick he took out failed to hit Hanon's body. Ueki, who wanted to defeat Hanon, attacked him again with Kurogane, but he could crush Kurogane Ueki into small pieces. He deliberately didn't dodge Ueki's attack so that Ueki would lose all of his talents. Because Hanon didn't want Ueki to activate archenemy, he attacked. Ueki replied to Hanon, which made him waste 2 talents. But he understood when he saw Hanon dodge instead of parrying attacks. It turned out that after Hanon released Robert's body, he couldn't take out his holy weapon at once. When he flies, Hanon only uses the Heavenly King's Seiku. It is known why Ueki can take out Seiku and other holy weapons because he already has the power of a level 2 weapon. Hanon can't do that. He can do it earlier because there is still the power of Robert and the Heavenly King in his body. After he took out Robert's body, now he could only use the power of the Heavenly King. After that, Hanon kicked Ueki's body until he fell. Hanon laughed arrogantly as he said with the remaining 2 talents, Ueki couldn't possibly beat him. He also analyzed Ueki's archenemy, who could get stronger because he was determined to protect his friends. Not long after, Hanon tried to kill Mori. Luckily, Rinko was able to block his Kurogane using her gloves. Meanwhile, Hanon, careless, had to lose one of his Seiku because Sano managed to get up and attack him using his boomerang. Seeing that, Ueki immediately attacked Hanon from behind, but he could still dodge even with 1 wing. Hanon, who thought Ueki attacked him using archenemy, looked very happy because Ueki had run out of that level 10 weapon and only had 1 talent. But it turned out that the attack was just Kurogane's shot, and only when Hanon was knocked down did Ueki prepare to attack him using archenemy and his last talent. Ueki said goodbye to his friends while attacking Hanon's body very hard. Even though they managed to bring down Hanon, his friends were sad because they thought they had lost Ueki. At the same time, Baro came there carrying Hideyoshi's body, which was already badly injured, because the Kurogane that Ueki shot earlier hit Hideyoshi, who was under the pillar of the way of life. Therefore, Mori realized something where Ueki's Kurogane managed to take down Hideyoshi, both a power user and a tournament participant. It means that before attacking Hanon using archenemy, Ueki got 1 additional talent. Sure enough, it turned out that Ueki was still alive, thanks to Hideyoshi's misfortune. After that, they all immediately met Hanon, who was still alive. Ueki asked what kind of dream Hanon really wanted to come true. Hanon replied that he wanted someone who could defeat his savage power. If he couldn't find that person, it was better for him to destroy this world. Ueki replied that it was not a dream because if the world was destroyed, then Hanon would live alone. Ueki said a dream is something that can be enjoyed together with other people. Shortly after, the servant of the Heavenly King came to bring almost all the participants to the place to declare that Ueki's team had made it through the tournament. The servant gave Ueki an empty talent. His friends don't know what kind of talent Ueki will write there. When asked to choose a new king, Ueki's team unanimously chose Wanko. Not long after, Tenko came with many celestial animals that had been confined in Margaret's body. Seeing that, Ueki allowed Tenko to live with all the celestial monsters. In the end, Hanon and Margaret are locked up in an underworld prison. Meanwhile, Ueki is met by Robert and befriends him. At the same time, Baro's and Marilyn's team bid farewell to Ueki's team. After that, Ueki and his friends returned to the human world, and he parted with all of his team. Finally, Ueki returns to living a normal life, until one day at his school arrives a new teacher who turns out to be Kobayashi. It happened because he wrote on empty talent to bring them all back together. The anime ends. The moral that can be learned this time is, the feeling of wanting to protect and make someone happy can awaken the hidden power in the body of every creature. So never underestimate or hurt someone because they may have a very strong protector.